Hi, I'm Dr. Jessica Vartanian, licensed marriage and family therapist, and today I'll be answering for the most commonly asked or Googled questions about what causes overthinking and what can be done about it. So let's dive right in. So our first question is, why do I replay conversations? So if you resonate with this one, know that that's quite common, and there's a couple of different reasons why that might be happening. First, when we're leaving a social situation, for example, like whether it be a job interview, work day, a friend's event, we might find ourselves kind of going through the event and playing out conversations we might have had with the people around us. And this kind of comes from a place of maybe nervousness, of the unknown, as far as like, what are people thinking about me? What is their perception of me? Did I do something that was off-putting? Maybe turn somebody off. Did I upset someone? Did I do something that was embarrassing? That sort of thing. And the reason why it kind of stems from a place of nervousness or anxiousness is because we're trying to predict what other people are thinking in the event that they're actually thinking that way. Again, maybe there's like, a small possibility of that happening. But when our brain is kind of trying to predict that happening, it's usually coming from a place of self-preservation and trying to protect ourselves. Again, in the small chance event that that is the reality. So because we worry about that being the reality, we might spend a lot of time playing into that idea just so that we can be prepared in case it happens. Because in reality, like, no one likes to, be in a situation where maybe they're not ready for that kind of discussion or finding out that kind of news. And it might feel jarring. So if we don't know how to cope with those feelings of being maybe caught off guard, something unpredictable happening, maybe not knowing how to navigate a conversation, something that feels like a confrontation, for example, and we worry about those kind of conversations, and it makes sense that we would replay conversations trying to look out for any inkling of something like that happening in the future, right? So again, it's coming from a place of self-preservation or trying to protect ourselves in the event of something happening like that we want to be prepared for, so that we're not so caught off guard. So again, very, very common for that to happen in those kind of social situations. And as far as what can be done about it, is that therapy can really help you understand where that anxiousness is coming from, maybe some past experiences that created that habit, that habitual way of thinking about events and conversations. So this way you can feel more confident moving forward. So you don't have to be in a place of having to replay conversations all the time if you're worried about being caught off guard. So therapy can maybe teach you the skills, the communication skills, to help you feel more ready in case something like that were to happen in the future. Okay, so moving on to our next question. Why do I imagine worst case scenarios? So this is kind of a good follow up, right, from the question above that one. So kind of similar to the replay, why do we replay conversations in our mind? Again, it's worst case scenarios, like we want to be prepared. Like if we haven't had a great practice or chance to be comfortable in the unknown or comfortable with the discomfort and like uncomfortable feelings, and practicing how to navigate those and manage those emotions, then it makes sense that our mind is going to spend a lot of time trying to be ready for the worst case scenarios. So again, therapy is a place for you to work on being more comfortable and confident in your ability to manage and those uncomfortable emotions or uncomfortable situations. So therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy, for example, will help you kind of train your mind or your brain to not only think about the worst case scenarios, but also about the other scenarios. Like, yeah, maybe again, very small instance of a worst case scenario coming true, but there's also the best case scenario, and then something that happens more average, like what's the most likely scenario. So having that kind of conversation in therapy can help your mind to relearn and create these new paths to not rely so much on trying to be prepared for the worst case, but also be prepared for, the best case or the most likely happening, right? And that you don't have to be so on guard and ready for the worst case happening all the time, because that could get exhausting. And as you might realize in therapy, like the most likely is most likely to happen, right? Not so much the worst case. So you don't have to spend so much time thinking about the worst case, especially when it could get so exhausting in training. So again, therapy can help both of these situations out. Okay, so moving on to our next question. Why does reassurance only help temporarily? Okay, so if you're noticing that, well, I guess maybe it'll help to kind of define what reassurance is, right? So reassurance is the act of reaching out to other people, like people around us, for decision making. Like if we have a hard time maybe trusting our own decision making abilities and trusting our own intuition, and it's hard to take that next step and move forward, we might be seeking that reassurance from other people before doing so. So again, not an uncommon thing to do. It's quite common for people to experience this. So as far as why and where it's coming from, there's a couple different reasons. So maybe in early life experiences, you might not have had that much opportunity to practice making choices for yourself. So that might have been kind of being raised in an environment where parents might have been like, it's my way or the highway, and they were making some choices and decisions for you without really checking in with you. And that might have been something that carried on throughout your life in different relationships. And again, not having had much practice in developing your own skills and being able to do that for yourself. Second would be getting maybe some comments or criticisms or judgment and shame on your ability or the times that you've done stuff for yourself, and maybe you've gotten some unsolicited advice or feedback and opinions from other people that again brought those feelings of like shame or feeling criticized and didn't feel good. So usually that combination of things, or one or the other, would lead someone to develop reassurance seeking. So maybe because of those experiences we might have had, the belief system or messages that we received about ourselves, or started to believe about ourselves rather, is that maybe like I can't trust myself, I don't know if I can do the right thing, I keep choosing the wrong thing, and I don't know if I can keep doing this. So when those thoughts are leading us to turn to reassurance seeking, and we get the reassurance, it only helps us temporarily, because it's now just feeding into this message system or belief that I need to be doing this and I can't figure things out on my own, right? So it helps in the short term, but the long term, again, we're not getting that practice, that skill set of listening to our own body and our own intuition, because our body does know certain things, and it does give us clues and signs for certain things. So if we do turn to other people for advice and their opinions on things, we're not getting a chance to build that confidence and skill set in trusting ourselves and our own judgment. So reassurance can only help temporarily, because again, it's kind of feeding into that belief of I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, and it's reinforcing that belief and making it that stronger, versus that belief maybe that you want to have moving forward is, hey, I can trust myself to make my own decision. So if you're noticing the reassurance in yourself, know that you're not alone, and resources like therapy can help you learn how to trust yourself better moving forward. Okay, so next question is, how do I stop rumination or ruminating, right? So this is a little similar or coincides with that question of why do I keep role-playing conversation? So that's in line with rumination, because rumination is very similar, where we're kind of stuck on thinking and replaying the same thoughts or feelings or memories or events in our mind, right? And we're trying to figure out maybe, why is this happening? Why did that happen? What could I have done differently? Did what I say offend someone or hurt someone, right? So we're stuck on that kind of replaying over and over in our mind, and sometimes it's hard to get out of it. We might notice we're kind of spiraling and stuck on it. It might even keep us up at night. I think that's a pretty common experience with rumination, right? So I could totally understand why we have that question of like, how do I stop it? So understanding what is at the root of the rumination can usually kind of clue us on how to stop the rumination. So if you're noticing that rumination is coming from a place of not wanting to be singled out, maybe being afraid of being rejected or abandoned, and again, you're trying to be prepared for it and prevent it from happening, you might want to kind of reassure yourself that you're worthy enough or you're lovable enough as you are. You don't have to do anything outside of the ordinary or extraordinary to earn anyone's love or approval, right? So developing that kind of secure relationship with yourself and more loving feelings and beliefs about yourself can stop the rumination if that's what's at the root of it, right? If at the root of it is those beliefs of I have to be worthy and, work hard to achieve someone's love and admiration, then we're going to ruminate and replay those conversations of like, did I do enough, right? Did I do good enough? So if we can develop, if that's at the root of it, and we could develop more of that secure relationship in ourselves, and we're not so driven by anxious thoughts or nervousness, then that usually helps stop the rumination. So again, mental health therapy is a great support and resource in guiding you to that place. Okay, so that's all the questions for today. Thank you so much for watching. If there's any other questions I can answer, please feel free to drop it down in the comments below, and I can make another video like this. Take care.